Well, a warm welcome to the gardens here at East Ruston Old Vicarage, one of my favourite Norfolk gardens to visit. Extensive private garden that took shape really in the mid-80s, so it's really quite well established now. And the maturity really is starting to show through, with the large trees and shrub areas really being very mature now. Despite that, the borders in this garden remain absolutely fantastic examples of what can be achieved in a relatively short period of time once the landscaping's in. Agapanthus do really well here. We're only a few miles from the Norfolk coast, but in the warm, dry summers we tend to get in East Anglia, they do very well. By this time of year, the bedding plants are really starting to fill in some of the gaps left by the earlier flowering plants and shrubs, but they manage within the sheltered garden areas created by a lot of brick landscaping, but also mature plantings, to grow some what would normally be considered quite tender plants here in the gardens at East Ruston. The gardens are open afternoons, Wednesday through to Sunday. They're closed Mondays and Tuesdays because this does remain the private garden and home of the two owners when they're in Norfolk. It is really well worth making an effort to visit this garden if you get the opportunity to visit Norfolk, particularly during the summer months. The expertise and plantings that have been established here are absolutely outstanding. Gardens are open between 12 and 5 p.m. and there's ample walkways and things to see that'll completely fill an afternoon's visit here. There is a tea room on site. You can get cold lunches and cakes, tea and coffee served in the old courtyard area in front of the cafeteria, and to the side you can sit very nicely and comfortably out in the gardens and enjoy some of the wildlife that will visit you, together quite often with the owner's dogs. There's also a small nursery on site with a good selection of locally grown but also bought in specialist plants, many of which you can see growing here in the garden, so plenty to stimulate your appetite and take home to try and recreate. As part of your tour around the garden, you intimately get to have a look at the outside of the old vicarage itself. There's some pictures on the website showing just what it was like back in 1973 when it had been empty for 2 years and was first purchased by the current owners. They've really transformed it with the fantastic landscaping that's been created all around, and of course the plantings just set the house off so beautifully. A particular feature at this time of year of East Ruston is the hydrangeas. They've got a marvellous selection and they've grown them really beautifully. I think they've done particularly well in 2024 due to the moist, wet weather we've had throughout the early part of summer. I think it's significantly reduced the amount of watering they've had to do here. And just look how lush and tropical the feel is as you walk through some of the shady areas in this large garden. Made a separate video of the Woodland area because this garden is advertised as having 6 distinct areas of garden, and one of them, which a lot of visitors tend to miss because it's on the very periphery of the garden itself, is the Woodland walk area, which at this time of year, with the hydrangea varieties that are flowering in that area, is absolutely spectacular. These were just a few examples that were planted around the vicarage itself. They'll give you a feel. Do watch the little mini, I think it's about 3 minutes long, that we shot walking through the woodland, just picking up the different varieties of hydrangeas that are flowering currently. It was absolutely wonderful, and a nice cool area of the garden to be in. We were lucky enough to visit on a hot summer afternoon towards the end of July. Buddleias, of course, doing very well. This is the area just to the side of the old vicarage with the greenhouse, and they've got a beautiful rose growing in this glass house. How they keep it going and looking so good through these hot summer months remains a mystery to me. There we are. This is it, actually. This is don't know the variety, but it's flowering in this glass house. At this time of year, would have expected it to have been exhausted by now and in its recovery phase, but just look at it. Absolutely gorgeous. Also got a fantastic selection of conservatory plants, and they do their tubs really well. This, I think this is a Jasminoides, completely cloaked one end of the old vicarage and was absolutely covered in flower. Courtyard gardens around the house have been landscaped beautifully. Mature plantings really break the long views, other than in key little areas where you get long vistas down away from the house looking towards the southern boundaries. But in most part this is a compartmental garden with distinct little areas, each with their own character. You get glimpses just of the rooftops looking back towards the old vicarage, and through gaps or windows through these very mature hedges, beautifully clipped. The old orangery with that glass house we started showing you just a little while ago. Some fantastic midsummer flowering clematis. This one was particularly spectacular. The topiary in this garden, something to really stand back and just appreciate, because quite often in these gardens there is so much to see that your eye is naturally drawn to the colour points or hotspots, but it's the backdrop and the structure in these gardens which are absolutely outstanding. Again, little walkways, gates if you like, but without actual gates, just giving you these vista views through into the next compartment. Made our way through into one alongside the conservatory now. Just see how even in this garden with the high hedges you don't get a single view of the entire house or the entire garden at any one aspect. You have to walk through this garden into the next compartment to see what's been planted, and they're all slightly different. Love these violas. They were just flowering away. Again, how they've got violas flowering in almost August. It's quite exceptional. Must be watering them. I do love the way they've planted it through this herbaceous geranium. Colour combination is gorgeous with the yellows in there as well. These long borders quite in a narrow area of the garden with these tall hedges and quite a bit of hard landscaping. Lots of architectural salvage features. That beautiful water butt, just look at that. They've put a lot of hard landscaping in originally when the garden was designed, and now with the mature plantings you get these beautiful walkways, making our way in this particular aspect through into one of my favourite little areas, what I always think of as a cottage garden, because the back aspect is so cottagey with the succulent collection here. But that's our subject for the next video, so do join us as we take you further around the wonders of East Ruston Old Vicarage. Thanks for watching.